4, 3. Live from the internet, this is the Crystal Chronicles, your #1 rated top to city of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast. Welcome to number 62 of our episodes, recorded on July 25th. Oh, I'm reading backwards. 2019. We welcome you, and I'll try not to be dyslexic for the rest of the show. Joining me, I am your host, Mark, is our co-host and your good friend and mine, Mino Spellgood. How you doing, Mino?
Hey, Mark. I'm super excited for this game for the first time in maybe over a month.
Ooh.
FF14 definitely took my attention for a while,
Nice.
but as we'll get to the news, there's 2 big content updates coming back to back within the span of 5 days. So my focus is back on here. Until raids drop.
Very good. And joining us as well as our another co-host, and his name is Kreese, a.k.a. Zerink. How you doing, Kreese?
I am not neglecting the game like Mino does.
But you got your food.
I did eat my food, so I am full now.
That was quick. What the?
He's very quick on his feet. And tonight we have
They were crepes. They weren't exactly
Yeah,
substantial.
you inhale them. It's like a vacuum cleaner. You don't even chew a crepe. You just swallow it like a hot dog eating contest. Joining us tonight, we do have a special guest. Our quartet is complete, and that special guest is, well, let me before I introduce our special guest, just let me say that the Crystal Chronicles podcast and experience is a collaboration between many different people. So of course myself and Kreese and Mino are here every week. Pierre does some producing for us, but of course there's other people who add to that, and so one of those people is with us tonight. You may know him as the creator of that crazy robot MateriaBot. We just know him as our good friend Quetz, or Quetzalma. How are you doing tonight, Quetz? Or
very well.
This morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
We are very happy to have you. What time?
Yeah, we are.
What time is it where you are right now?
2 a.m.
Yeah,
I am so sorry.
It's a
Quetz.
little early for
I'm
Quetz.
so sorry.
But his schedule and ours align, so hopefully he got a few hours of sleep before the show, and he can go back to bed and be on his way. But thank you for joining us, Quetz.
Sleep is for the weak.
Yes, sleep
Thank
is
you so
for
much,
the weak.
Quetz.
I loved that during Cartoon Network. We used to stay up late and watch, Cartoon Network in the middle of the night. So sleep is for the weak is what they would say all the time. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today, potentially, depending on what hits here as we are podcasting. The first news that we got today is that Shiva Boards are coming on August 1st. So at the beginning of next month or the end of this month, depending on what time zone you're in, we are going to get our Shiva summoning boards. So is everyone excited about Shiva? What do you guys think?
Not really. From what I hear, she's the worst.
To farm. To clarify,
Yes.
Kreese is she's the worst to farm, but also her passives aren't great. I, for one, think it's a very classy move on Square Enix's part. I want to really acknowledge that they're announcing something coming in the next update early, because this is the first time. Before, it's always been as the month grows near and the next update comes, we're left in the dark.
Yeah.
And everyone's always panics and says, what's coming, dead game, whatever. This time they announced early, hey, this is the next update, by the way. So we have something to look forward to, which I think was a great move.
I will just say on top of that this is not unprecedented. They did the same thing with the Ifrit Ultimate thing. They announced it a week in advance. I think a good reason to announce it a week in advance is to give people a chance to catch up on their summon levels if they haven't, because to start the event, you have to actually have the summon at level 20.
I thought Ifrit was in the middle of the month, though. Am I remembering wrong?
No, it was the end of the month.
Okay.
It was literally the end of May, yes.
Oh, okay.
Like the last day of May, or maybe the 30th of May is when Ifrit dropped. Yep.
All right. So, hold on. Quetz is just letting us know the game is updated. Let's see if
Yep.
there's any new notices we need
Quetz,
to discuss.
well, we try to make sure our games can update. Mine stalled out already. Quetz, what's your how do you approach summoning boards in general?
I try to get all the treasures in the 2 weeks that the special boosted characters last. But I usually only focus to max the boards on the characters I intend to use going forward. For example, Beatrix. I'm not really gonna use her until she gets a rework or level 70. So right now, I don't think she is a great priority to farm the complete boards.
I could
Okay,
not agree with you more. That's why my Beatrix is not doesn't have her complete summon boards. I don't know about you guys, but I have not seen anything in game after the update.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but checking Vivi and Zidane's passives, they got their
rework.
reworks, yes.
Okay, they got their reworks. So,
Which we'll discuss
well, that's
when
next
we get to that section,
in
right?
terms of the news.
Yeah, and then
No news yet.
oh, and Eamon's in chat is saying there's a new tweet. If someone can check that while I segue into our next section.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
I'll get on Twitter.
yeah. So the next big news is this week. Apparently, some users in the community have reported that Square Enix Joshua was on Masalento's stream earlier this week, and the subject of the Curse 6 and their unique Adoja passives came up, and Square Enix Joshua reportedly said that we will be seeing Global's solution to that either tonight when the update drops, and if tonight, then they'll discuss it on their stream, the official information stream, which is probably coming Monday. So that says a lot of things. First, it says that we haven't heard any news about it. It's been 6 months late, and they haven't said anything about it. But they're addressing that a solution is coming very soon, either tonight or we'll be hearing about it on Monday, which also means, purely my speculation, that they're not being ignored, so we are getting some version of a fix to it, and I don't think that they're just going to be releasing those Adojas as is. Otherwise, it would not have been delayed for 6 months. And plus, it sounds like they have a floating timeline here, because they said it could be tonight that we find out what their solution is, or they'll discuss it on Monday in the stream, which means it's something without a set timeline, release timeline, and that probably means they're working on something big that they can't just implement. Because if it was just the Adojas, they could just be like, here you go, here they are tonight, released. Or here it is, but they're clearly working on something. So that does help us speculate a little better. Do you guys have any thoughts on that or ideas what they might be doing?
So we had Yuna Idojas come and go with no new passives. We just got Vivi's update. It is the same. Now, if I'm incorrect, please let me know. But just looking at the update, it seems like the same rework that Japan got for Vivi at this time. So there was no additions to his rework.
And so I'm saying, like, maybe that doesn't completely rule out the rework thing. It might just not be coming tonight. They might be talking about it later. It might be a separate thing. But also, I don't know. I doubt they're releasing Adojas for tonight, but I think that it might be a safe bet to say they're not coming tonight, but we won't know until another 45 minutes as of this time in the recording of the podcast. Kreese, do you have any thoughts or speculations on that?
My opinion has been that Square Enix is not going to release those Idoja artifact passives that they did in Japan for these 6 characters, which include Yuna, Aerith, Sarah, Vivi, Cater, and Lion. All of them got special artifact passives that were supposed to be rework material until they got a huge amount of backlash for them for good reason. They were purely random on whether you could roll them or not, and they were so powerful that you basically needed to go for them specifically. I don't think we're going to get those. I think we're going to get something different. It does not look like that thing is arriving tonight, which is going to hurt Vivi. He is one of those 6 characters. And all he's getting is the rework he got down the line that we were expecting. So he's not quite as strong as he could potentially be.
Dreamy in chat is saying, but what exactly is left to do if it wasn't baked into, like, taking Vivi, for example, if it wasn't baked into his rework released tonight, what else could they add? Well, I'm thinking maybe it might be delayed just because they're still working out how to balance it correctly. So it still could possibly be another set of reworks that they're just trying to get the final balancing touches on. Or really far out their idea, maybe it's like something that toggle. Like maybe you can choose between what kind of combination of no, that's way too crazy.
I'm
Quetz!
just going.
Go. Oh,
Just
sorry.
a second, sorry. Jake AW17 in chat is asking what the passives were for Vivi that he got. He got 2 passives, and they were on the lower end of quality. His weren't massive. So one of his artifact passives gave him an extra use of fire. Pretty bad. The other one gave him a 20% increase to attack and 10% increase to speed per passive you roll for that. So a maximum of 60% attack and 30% speed.
And 3
Again,
additional
that's on
uses.
the lower end of power, but it's
But
still
still-
a pretty big boost.
There's the one person. There's 2 people that get the most from these Adojas. One is Sarah, who with these Adojas became a top tier unit every time she came up again in JP, because it gave her the aura that every time there's a debuff on the enemy, she's boosting. Let me pull it up. She's boosting she has an aura for the team that's.
It's 50% max brave and 30% attack, I believe, if she has perfect artifact passes.
Yeah, there you go. 50% max brave, 30% attack aura with these. Without that, she doesn't give that at all, and that makes
She
her
gives 20% max brave right now.
significantly worse character. And also, it looks like her second passive is Moonlight use count +1, so like 3 more uses of Moonlight, and raises her max brave by a total of 60%. So, that's significant for her. Thank you, Quetz, using MateriaBot, which we'll highlight later. Yuna's is the biggest one because Yuna for those who don't know, Yuna's EX kind of changes her character. Right now, Yuna is pure support. She's a brave battery with some heals. Her EX turns her into an attacking character. She summons
Valefor.
Valefor. There you go. Thank you. Valefor, and her entire kit just changes. Her brave and HP and the EX ability changes into all attack stuff. And then suddenly she wants attack, and she's shaving brave. And her Adojas reflect that by increasing her max brave to up to 120% and 3 more counts of Asuna, and raising party attack by 30% as well as party brave by 30% as long as
wait, I need to cut this off. Vivi
update?
is getting his Idoja passives. It was just announced in game.
Oh.
Okay. So how are they implementing that?
Additional passive abilities from artifacts. The passive abilities are only available in the 2-star rank. That's all that's in the character adjustment notice.
Only available in the 2-star rank, and I
It
believe
basically
that was
means
how
you
it
need to
was-
roll a 2-star
Yeah,
version.
yeah,
to
yeah.
use
That's
it.
how it
Which
was
means
in-
we literally got the special passives that everyone hated in Japan.
Yeah.
Correct?
Wait. So does that mean we have to roll the Adojas for it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they're not available right now. You have to roll artifacts to get it.
Okay. So I guess they decided to implement the Adoja system pound for pound, but 6 months late.
Oh, goodness.
Not quite 6
So-
months late, but pretty late.
Oh, yeah,
closer to
not 6 months, but still. And why not give you
Oh no! This is the worst timeline. Oh, well, I mean, they'll probably wait until they're featured characters again. So when they get Worlds of Illusions,
Yeah.
or co-ops,
The worst timeline would have been getting nothing, but this is
This is the worst timeline because it looks like we waited this whole time and we got excited because we thought they were going to implement something,
Oh goodness.
but it looks like we got the same thing, which was reviled, but we got it much later, which means that Yuna could have been viable. All these characters could have been viable for months longer, and Yuna has just been featured twice in a row without these. So, she could have actually been a good... But it looks like we are getting the Japanese Eidojas pound for pound, but just months later than they originally appeared. Well, I mean, in a way, this puts us on the same playing field as Japan in the long run. We did get it later, so we didn't get to prepare as much, but they're here. So we don't have to worry about, is GL and JP going to be completely different games? Are they going to have the balance completely different? Luckily, it looks like they won't.
So let's wait. Perhaps there will be more information in the mobile stream. Perhaps there will be some change to how Eidojas work. If they do not make any changes and pretty much just give it, I mean, it still makes the characters playable, right? But it's a painful for Sarah, who will be very good with her artifact passes, for Yuna, who will be very playable with her artifact passes, even for Vivi, if you wanted to draw on Vivi. Wow, it's a grind to get perfect arts. I mean, I think we can all...
I hope you all enjoy it if you want to use Sarah or Yuna.
Well, it does mean Sarah will be as strong as she was in JP, unless we get more time travelers, obviously. But it looks like
only if you spend the grinding for the artifact passives, which I know you were notoriously lacking.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not even...
It's going to be a pain.
I'm not going to get the EX. With my luck, I'm not going to get that EX anyway, so, forget it. But so all this means is these 6 characters are going to take more work to build up to their potential. So Sarah is going to differ for a lot of people, depending on your artifact luck and your effort into grinding these artifacts. Either she's going to be amazing, or you're going to wonder what everyone else is talking about because you're missing that aura that's increasing party stats by 30% across the board. And you're lacking uses of abilities. That's the big one. That hurts.
Yeah. My biggest problem with this right now that it's sinking in, is why did they wait so long to just do what they were going to do in Japan?
Well, so I think Harrieth is onto something in chat. Harrieth29 says, so basically they said, yeah, we can't find a solution for this after all, so we're going to implement it anyway. That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Or they wanted to give more spotlight to the time travelers.
The problem is it actually hurt us in the long run, because we could have gotten these artifact passives earlier. There were times where Sarah and Vivi have been featured in the past couple months, and Yuna's been featured, and Lion's been... Well, she hasn't been featured since her awakening, but several of these characters have been featured. We could have been getting these artifact passes rolling for them. They could have been filling slots for people who might not have gotten other top-tier characters at the time. Instead, we got a couple of time travelers, which admittedly were very good, but they did not replace 3 or 4 solid characters.
Erole said even Cater got featured. Oh my god. Oh, but sorry, Quetz, we cut you off. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say that I don't envy the people that want to use Sarah.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, out of the 6 characters, if we're just gonna use the foresight right now, Sarah is the one who's worth going all in for to try to farm these perfect artifacts. But by perfect artifacts, we mean 2 specific orange artifacts in a pool of, oh man, how many are there now? Like 12 maybe different perfect passives, all the stats, and then her 4 unique ones, and now these 2.
Right.
According to DCDB, the chances to get those 2 artifact passives is 2.2%.
Holy crap. Okay, well, I'm not doing that, so Sarah's dead to me. But if you put in the work, you will get a top-tier character. When her X came out with her rework, she was one of the strongest characters for at least a month. When her EX Plus came out, same deal. So I think if you're crazy and you love farming artifacts, 100% worth it. For Yuna, I know that perfect artifacts made her viable for her EX and EX plus. Like, makes her a perfectly usable character, which means without those passives, very subpar. And then the rest of the characters, the artifacts didn't even make them viable. Well, you can play them, but they're below average. Like Vivi, Cater, Lion, and
Aerith is the last one.
Oh my god, Aerith was actually viable with her EX release. So without it, oof, it's gonna hurt her. So, well, now that we know for sure, at least it's better than being in the dark. We got the same treatment as JP, and all that means is more investment on these characters if you want to use them. So it's harder to actually play these at their full potential.
Just imagine that to make Sarah actually be as good as you want her to be, you would have to take Lilith and roll 3 Moonlight Butterfly Boost 2 stars and Max Bracelets 330s together. That is what you need to do for Sarah, except change those passives to debuff attack boost all 2-star and Moonlight Charge and boost 2-star.
Well,
that is what you're looking at.
But these 6
Also,
characters have more options than all the other characters. So it's even harder.
It's less chance. Yeah.
So
even less chance.
It's even harder.
And sorry to those who already farmed quote unquote perfect artifacts for any of these characters. Gotta go back at it. I'm out. I'm not using these characters. As they are now, that is way too much work and luck to get workable versions of them.
That's exactly why the JP players didn't like it.
Yeah.
Because it was power, actual power, not just a small boost from the base stats, but it's passives that are significant that change the character. And having those locked behind the RNG, it's horrible.
Right, and not only that, but it's shittier RNG because, like we said, more options, so the chances of getting what you want are smaller. And it's not even like, oh, I guess I got attack and max brave, I can settle for this. Because for a lot of characters that we discuss, they're like, there's like a priority list, like, oh, you want attack, max brave, and maybe like eye brave or something, like 3-4 priorities. They're like, if you can't get attack, you can settle for max brave. For these characters, these passives are so much better that you can't settle for anything less. Like
these are party auras in the artifact passives, and those are top priority for other characters that just have Crystal Strength 50 passives.
Yeah, and to put it into perspective, it's like Lilith and Realm, right? Like each of those artifacts were a 5% boost, but you already get a 10% base. This is a 10% boost, and if you don't have it, then there's no aura.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's a 10% per artifact.
Yeah,
you farm 3.
Yeah, 10% per artifact, whereas Lilith was 5%. Lilith and Bart's Simple Mastery and Moonshade Butterfly, they were 5%, and people are saying these characters aren't usable unless you farm 3 of them. So think about how bad it is to farm 10%.
Well, I think my verdict will be out because, they did hint at perhaps something in the mobile stream, so perhaps they're going to change how we do artifacts. I don't foresee that happening. Perhaps something else to help deal with this, off-balance this, or offset this is going to be in the works too. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look real good. This would have been the assuming nothing else changes, which I don't want to assume that we won't get something else. But
right. We'll wait till the mobile stream on possibly Monday to. We'll touch upon this again next week. Obviously, next week there's going to be a Square Enix live stream, so our episode next week will be even more packed for news. But just so last thing before we move on, Dreamy in chat says, not only are JP people crazy for mobile gaming and insane grind, but if they actually acknowledge that this is bad and they complain so much that the devs changed it, you can imagine how bad it actually is.
This was actually the thing that I expected them to do the least. I expected either that the passives would be reworked into the reworks in some way, or that we just wouldn't get them at all.
And the hammer at home Amins just in chat said Sarah is actually dead to me. And that says a lot, because if you've been in our Discord, Eamon has not shut up about Sarah for the
He
last
says
week.
that until they released her bikini costume or her
Oh,
beach
yeah,
costume.
right.
Then he'll find new life for her.
Yeah, all right.
So let's move on from that bleak and we'll actually come back to it because we have to talk about Vivi. But before we do, let's give ourselves a respite. And let's talk about the event that hit since last time we podcast, which was the Lann and Reynn event. Mysterious siblings from a mysterious world. This event brought us everyone's favorite chibi friends. What do they call it in game though? They don't call it
Lillykins.
Lillykins, which is
Lillykins and giants.
Even more terrifying. Chibi's fine. Lillykins. Anyway, this brought us Lann and Reynn, this elemental AoE duo in their chibi form that had some fun little things in their event, and I think an actually interesting mechanic in terms of how they work. But Kreese, why don't you tell us a little bit about Lann and Reynn?
Okay, sure. Lann and Reynn are basically the new king and queen of AoE HP damage. All of their abilities, in certain conditions, will do full HP damage to all targets they hit, and they are AoE attacks. So, Ability 1, Ability 2, and EX ability, all AoE, all do full HP damage under the right conditions. Their gimmick is that they have two special buffs called Mirage S and Mirage L. Mirage S is provided by their first ability, Thunder and Geo Crush. This increases their speed and gives them a brave damage reduction while it is active. Their second ability, Blizzard and Water, gives them Mirage L, which increases their attack, max brave, and defense. And once both buffs are active, their abilities become empowered versions. Thunder and Geo Crush and Blizzard and Water in basic form are 2-hit elemental attacks against single targets that deal HP attacks. Once they become empowered, they become 6-hit AoE elemental attacks, and their primary gimmick is that they actually hit multiple elements with their attacks. So Thunder and Geo Crush applies. It's a magic attack that does thunder and earth damage. So if they're hitting a weakness for one of them, they're hitting a full elemental weakness. And Blizzard and Water hits ice and water elements and does full damage as long as it hits one weakness there. The other quirks for those two abilities are Thunder and Geo Crush has a high turn rate, while Blizzard and Water inflicts a speed down debuff. Along with that, they have a Brave Attack Plus that will refresh the duration of Mirage S and Mirage L only by 1 turn, so it just extends their buff durations enough so that they can continue to use their buffs for a little longer. And their EX ability, Sonic Fangs, is an AoE attack that inflicts break to all targets, no matter how much brave they have, so it will break no matter what. They get a special buff called Stack Enchant, which enchants them with 5 different elements: fire, ice, water, earth, and thunder for 6 turns. And then they do in fire melee AoE attack that does full damage and extends their buff durations for 1 turn. So the primary gimmick with them is that Mirage S and Mirage L do not have long durations. Mirage S has a base duration of 3 turns, and Mirage L has a base duration of 4 turns. They can't keep it up for the entire fight because their abilities either do not extend it. Blizzard and Water Plus and Thunder and Geo Crush Plus do not extend the duration. And Sonic Fangs and Brave Attack Plus only extend it for 1 turn. Basically, the turn that they're using for Brave Attack Plus or Sonic Fangs does not consume that buff duration. So there are periods where they will have to refresh those buffs in order to get them active again, which is the reason the buffs have a 1 turn duration difference. So you will get 3 full turns where both buffs are active if you do Blizzard and Water followed by Thunder and Geo Crush in order. This means that they have very poignant periods where they will do a lot of AoE damage, followed by periods where they have to take a couple turns to build back up to it. The other big thing that's new for these characters is that their extension passes will actually let them start combat with Mirage S and Mirage L active, so they are at power once the fight begins. This is unique to them right now. No other character starts with buffs active. It'll become more common as time goes on, but for now it's unique to them. The other quirk is that while they deal full HP damage to all targets, they have no Brave Overflow, and their potencies are not particularly amazing. So in single target situations, they will not do huge damage. But if there are 2 or more targets, they are going to be really hard hitting overall. They will do more HP damage than most characters thanks to that. in general, I think they're very strong. They have a lot. They have to deal with elemental resistances, but they can get around it a lot more easily than other characters. And they hit hard when they have multiple targets around. Sephiroth or Rinoa might do more damage against a single target, or Golbez, but if you want to hit 2 enemies at the same time, the twins will do more, and that's the major perk of them.
Let me ask some questions, and I'll give my thoughts first, because I've been a little distracted in the game, so I'm probably coming from the most ignorant standpoint. So can you clarify a few things for me, and then I'll pass the mic to Quetz on his thoughts. But so they start the fight with both buffs, because I have them fully awakened, and they only start with one of the buffs for me. Do you need a?
You don't have both extension passives equipped. Then they do start with both buffs if the extension passives are equipped.
That's my fault. Then and when they're equipped, is it 4 and 3? They start the battle with 4 turn duration and the 3 turn duration?
No, it's 3 turns for both buffs.
Okay, good.
When you start.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Okay, so from my point of view is, so I had a like low expectation of twins, and it kind of once I got my hands on them to play them, and even when co-ops, when there's disconnects, so I got to play like fully MLB twins, they didn't even meet my lower expectations, though I do acknowledge they're a very good niche unit, and I'll still stick by that. Like, I would love twins friends. In fact, I plan to go into the first Cosmos fight with twins friends, so I spent most of the day adding a bunch of people who are representing twins, because with twins friends, they come in strong, all their buffs, Sonic Fang, 5 turns of 100% AoE. You know, it's beautiful. So I do think they're still amazing for that. But I think I would hesitate to run one in my main party, because so Kreese, correct me on this. Are they the last characters to be based on buff windows? And I say that as a fellow MMO player. I'm sure you're familiar. I haven't played WoW in a long time, but buff windows meaning that these DPS classes rely on all their DPS is centered around when their one big buff is up, they do all their damage, and then they stall until the next buff window is up. And so it started with Kuja, right? Like, once he hits the 5 stacks, boom, that's his buff window. You nuke until it's gone. And Golbez was the same way until their EXs fixed that, of course, right? Because it keeps their buffs always on. But Rinoa, for example, is a buff window character because you throw on Angel Wings, you spam it for like a couple of turns until it wears off, then you have to refresh it. And these twins are the same. These buffs will fall off no matter what, and then you have to spend some downtime to refresh it before they're at their full potential again. And that's been the theme this summer with all these new characters, I believe. They all center around these buff windows. And this is the last of them, right?
No, Vayne.
Yeah.
Oh, right. You're right. Vayne has buff windows too.
And there is a difference between, for example, Rinoa and Vayne and the twins. And this is, I mean, everybody has been saying, they don't do overflow damage. You have to deal with the elemental weakness. There's something else that I forget that you mentioned, that people
they can't maintain their buffs indefinitely.
Yeah, well,
that's their major downside.
I think that is
the
major downside, that you have to. They come in strong. 1, 2, 3, maybe a Brave Plus into the EX, and then you got 2 turns to set up. You're not doing any damage in those 2 turns, or minimal single target damage, right?
Yeah.
Because when you don't have both buffs up, you're not doing AoE, and then you go back in. So that takes you 2 additional turns. Rinoa, remember, to reapply her buffs is a free turn.
But it still costs an ability use, so I'm saying it's not forever. It's not forever.
Right. But
so what I'm trying to say,
her
buff
EX
window
reapplies that. Their EX doesn't reapply their buffs.
Right. Yeah. But so for what for the buff window characters, I'm saying these are characters who cannot have 100% uptime. Golbez and Kuja, their base kit is like that, but their EX gives them 100% uptime until they run out of abilities, right? So, but I'm saying their base kit, if you don't have their EXs, that's how they work. You build up the buffs, you unleash, and then you go back to the build-up time. For the twins and Rinoa, it's more forced. Rinoa even less so, because, like you said, it's a free turn, but she can only do it so many times. And with the twins, it's forced. Like, your buffs have to drop. You cannot refresh them. Oh, and Tidus too. is an example of another buff
Yes.
window character.
Yep.
Yeah, you quick hit and you get that buff window where his attacks are great, but you can't refresh it, and you have to wait till it falls off and build it up again. And so this is a common trend for the summer. These characters make better friend units than anything, honestly, because they'll come in their buff window and they'll leave when their buff window is gone. But so for the twins, it's really annoying. Like, I don't like them in my main party because of that. As people are saying in the main chat, Brave Plus does extend it 1 turn, but you cannot refresh them. And by extending it 1 turn, all you're doing is stalling. So it's kind of like, let me stall this this buff window for a little bit until there's a better chance to use it by spamming Brave Plus. Like, it doesn't extend it, it just stalls it until you use it on something else. So the twins are more of a buff window character than any of these other characters, except maybe Tidus. Tidus is very buff window heavy as well. And that's why I don't personally like using them. And then the last thing I have to say about like the whole double element thing, it also means double chance of resistances. We know when Cosmos comes, elemental high resistance and absorb is going to be very common. Every Cosmos boss is going to at least high resist or absorb 1 or 2 elements. And I guess if it's just one of those 2 elements without the corresponding weakness, they're going to be shut down kind of hard, and they can only be relied on to use 1 ability, which is why, again, I pushed for them to be friend units, because then they can just spam the EX and the 1 ability and leave. Quetz, what are your thoughts on the twins?
I agree completely with your opinion. I think having them on your party is awkward because, like you said, you have to spend abilities to get the maximum from them, but then you also have to use abilities to get them back to the max power that they have. So they're kind of like Van. They use a lot of abilities and they can quickly burn out.
Yeah, I agree. I was almost going to say that too. Like, it's an AoE version of Vaughn, right? Because they're elemental heavy and they're burst heavy. Yeah.
I also agree with what you said regarding the using them as a friend. I think that's literally the best use for them. When there's 2 bosses, I think they're okay, but they excel when there's 3 targets, because the 100% AoE damage is very, very good. You're basically tripling the damage you do with a single ability.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. The twins will not be a mainstay on my team, even though I got their full kit. They have a place in the game. They can deal a lot of damage as long as they don't run into those elemental resistances, which is going to become a problem. There will be bosses. For example, tonight's Cosmos event, you can't bring the twins because the bosses absorb ice, and there's no way around it for them. You basically lose 8 abilities. So they get shut down very easily. It's a major problem with all of these elemental characters, and it's exacerbated with the twins. They have a way to get around it with their dual element attacks, but then you have to make sure that the boss is weak to 2 elements. So there's problems.
Yeah,
and
like
they're great in certain situations, but not all situations.
I wanted just to add to that, Crease. Yeah, they have twice the chance of hitting a weakness, but they also have twice the chance of hitting a... So it's a double-edged sword. So I think they're a very niche character. You shouldn't bring them on any bosses that resist any of their elements, and you shouldn't bring them to any single boss. So that rules them out of a lot of content. You honestly can only bring them to multiple boss fights with that don't resist any of their 4 elements. There's 6 elements in the game? So
there's 8 elements in the game, I think.
8. Okay, so half the elements in the game.
And technically the twins hit 5 elements because fire is their EX ability.
Yeah, technically. Not reliably, but you're right. But I mean, that's a break no matter what, right? So it doesn't really matter.
It's a break, but then if the boss absorbs fire, they're going to restore Brave after breaking.
Yeah, you're right.
So what about this horrible banner they're on with Edgar and Faris?
Oh man, I have not seen. I think this is the most This is the clearest example of outdated characters.
No, the Quistis banner was really bad. Quistis was the only good unit there.
Yeah. Quistis
Even
banner
worse
was
than this,
bad.
you guys think?
It was Vivi
Well,
and Sarah before they got
yeah.
any Doges or reworks. Yes, it was terrible.
So Faris
Yeah.
is still usable. She's not great. She is
Usable?
still
I don't
usable.
know.
Well, I have
like
used her to complete content, so that makes her usable.
Did you use her on this
Yeah.
EX fight?
Yeah, on this EX.
I used her on CLC.
Oh, I was specifically talking about this one where she's synergy, but that's fair. I'm just saying in co-op, Edgar's and Faris definitely make it a slow run.
Yeah, in co-op it's tough. Faris is fine, but it's slow and it's rough. And Edgar is just garbage, especially without his EX. Even with
Yeah,
his
a lot
EX,
of people
he's
in
not great.
chat are agreeing with you, saying Faris is still usable, but Edgar is just a complete dud.
So
at this
it
point,
wouldn't be
which
my
hurts.
suggestion. It sounds like everybody else kind of feels the same way. So, yeah. What about co? I don't even know if we want to talk about this co-op. Co-op and the EX battle. This co-op
if you're doing the co-op, be careful with bringing Renoa. Keep your HP decently high, or you will die. I've seen a lot of Renoas die because they went into the all attacks with 25% HP, and
I was running it with pre-made groups that all ran like 3 sylphs, and we never got to that HP attack. So that's an idea if you're running like all quick summon.
Now, if you're not doing synergy, Kefka and not Edgar. We were talking about Edgar. Setzer. There's somebody else. Who am I missing? There are several people who can just kind of nerf the
Kefka?
Kefka. Yeah, they can.
Would you say Quetz? Sorry.
Kefka?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kefka's HP silence takes care of their triple attack. So does Setzer because they can't brave, regen, everything else. So yeah, that's
Two Quistis also work very well.
2 Quistis. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, bringing Quistis in co-op or even just the event is fine. So yeah, Rem's a good choice. Inkwelder's saying Beatrix. I haven't seen any Beatrixes.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Okay, yeah, but Kefka's trying is really helpful in this. But there's a lot of different options. It's just a lot more grindy, and if you're playing with random people, it can be a lot tougher. Yeah, Agrius, because of the paralyze. Cloud actually has really good because his paralyze is 100%, so that's really cool. So,
well, it's over with. Thank God.
Yeah, it's done.
Chimeras are the worst enemy. I'm sure I'll be corrected in a few months, but
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how
between your turns, like they keep getting reacted.
Yeah, these bosses were fairly dangerous if they were both able to take the triple turn. But really, the nice thing about breaking them into the triple turn from the double turn is they did just that HP attack, which you can recover from fairly easily if you just don't let them kill you instantly. How did you guys find the EX fight? I'm trying to think who I brought to the this particular EX fight. I don't know.
I one-shot it with a team of, I don't remember. It was Lena, Sephiroth, and Renoa, I think I did it with. And I don't even think I used... Oh, no, I did use a friend. No, I remember now. Sorry. I used Golbez, Renoa, Lena, blew them up with just AoEing. I had a Quistis friend ready to go after summons so I could delay the one that didn't kill immediately. It was pretty straightforward for me at least.
Quetz, how did you do?
I think I went with Lena, Golbez, and the twins.
Oh, nice.
So just AoE everything down.
That's good. I remember I was surprised I did pretty well because I know my blind in our Discord server we have something a channel where we all post scores. For the first time in forever, my blind run was higher than everyone's blind run for the first night. Of course, people started easily passing it afterwards, but to have such a high blind run, I was running the team that I'm planning to take into Cosmos tonight. Lena, Jack, Renoa, and it made pretty short work of it. Like the Jack Lena combo is living up to my expectations, and Renoa is just there for the AoE effect. So nice and easy, clear for me. Mark, how'd you do?
I literally cannot find who I used. I got,
Nope. Looks like Mark has something to do. So I will cover up for a sec. So I know a lot of the Discord regulars were expecting me to say this, so I'll just say this as a reminder. This is the last of time. Cosmos drops our next huge difficulty spike. Probably will catch a lot of people off guard after 3+ months of garbage time. They'll probably be like, why can't I walk in and use 50/50 characters anymore? But wait, what were you going to say?
I'm just going to say that, from my understanding, the Cosmos fight attached to this story chapter was not particularly evil. It was challenging, but not hard. The real spike in difficulty comes with the next character event, which is Vayne. That was notoriously very hard.
Yes, because I've been hammering that one into everyone's ears for a while too, the Vayne event. But I will say that the Cosmos event, the pool of cleared characters in JP is low. Oh, our good friend ddxme on the site, he's doing a mini call to arms for us now, a little preview, because what he
The primer
does,
guide.
yeah, the primer guide. He gathered every single JP clear video he could find, and then tallied character use in each of those videos, which I thought was great data to have. And the pool is very small. Let me pull that up really quick. But basically, this is going to be a smaller pool of clearable characters than we're used to. And again, 3+ months of garbage time is, that's going to make a lot of people soft. They're going to underestimate how little damage some of these characters are going to go in with these inflated defenses in this jump. Quetz, do you have any thoughts about this while I search this up? Are you prepared for Cosmos?
I hope so. I played JP for a little bit, and at the time I joined JP, Cosmos was already too easy because they already had chaos, and
yeah, point.
Comparing Cosmos with chaos, it's like a completely different world. Chaos is extremely harder than Cosmos was. I don't think our transition from EX to Cosmos is going to be as big as Cosmos to Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you that some people will have difficulties getting used to the difficulty of the fights.
Yes, I agree with that. Also, to check in chat real quick, Erole is asking a question that's been floating around the subreddit today. Zidane gets a 10% attack boost per female character in the party. Does Lann and Reynn activate that? If anybody knows, please let us know, because this has been being asked a lot today.
I actually had the same question today when I was fighting a Lamia with the charm.
Okay, so I pulled up the primer. So, ddxme created a list. He searched for every single Cosmos clear he could find. He got over 50 videos, and he compiled the data. He said only 2 characters were used in 20+ of these 50+ teams, Sephiroth and Rinoa. And then the following characters have been used in about 10 or more of these teams of 50+. And that's Zidane, Vivi, Freya, Lena, Sarah. And to qualify that is Zidane, Vivi, Freya with Synergy, Lena, and Sarah with Great Adojas and EX. So Sarah is not available to us yet. We don't have her Adojas or EX, so you can kind of strike her from that record. But so basically, Sephiroth and Rinoa, and then the Synergy characters plus Lena. In 50+ runs, those are the only characters who've been used consistently. Other than that, in 5 or less teams of these 50+, Quistis, Lillicet, Kefka, purely to nerf the outgoing damage. from these bosses. And then even more niche picks are the most recent characters of, this is less than 5 in the 50 plus videos, is Golbez, Kate Sith, Bartz, Awakened Zack, which we don't have yet, Cloud, Lann and Reynn, Ishtola, Jack, Furion, and Rosa. So what that means is, of what we have available, only 5 characters are very viable for this. 3 of them are the synergy characters with their EXs on this banner, the reworks and the synergy, and Sephiroth and Renoa and Lena are the comfortable clear. Everyone else is a niche pick. So I think this is going to be a big wake-up call to a lot of people. But that being said, I've always said that the global player base is much larger than the JP player base. And our call to arms has shown that we have shown more diversity in clears as well. And we have a few time travelers with Kane and Tidus as well, that I'm sure we'll see Tidus in quite a few of these, whereas there's been 0 JP Tiduses clearing this. So I'm looking forward to Macnol's call to arms thread to see how different our results are to JP's. But this is a wake-up call. Very, like, literally a handful of characters, including the synergy characters, deal enough damage to get the clear on this.
I agree with you. I think for the global community, we'll find the number of characters used for this Cosmos fight will be much wider than the number that Japan was able to put out. Again, the sample size is going to be a lot smaller, and we have some people in our community that are much more willing to experiment with more niche characters. So we'll see.
So moving on, new character coming in 3 minutes, Freya. Kreese, do you want to give us a breakdown of Freya really quick for the new Story Act 2, Chapter 3? Oh, and as a quick summary, Story 2, Chapter 3, we all know that all of these Arc 2 chapters have been focused on certain games. This is the FF9 chapter, very heavy emphasis on FF9. We're getting Zidane and Vivi reworks, a VVX, Freya, and then the story is going to feature Kuja heavily, and spoiler alert, the Aoife tree from the game. So, and even a boss that I won't reveal from FF9. So very big news for FF9 fans. So Freya is going to be our new character tonight for the story chapter. Kreese, want to walk us through it?
Sure. So Freya is the first character arriving in a few months now, I think, that is arriving without an EX weapon. So she will only have a 15 CP and 35 CP weapon as she arrives. This is a benefit, I guess, in some ways, because it means...
Oh, Quetz said Lulu. Did that change your data?
Oh, whoops. I forgot about Lulu. Sorry.
Quetz, don't be afraid to yell your answers. I think Kreese is not hearing you. I'll back you up.
I didn't want to interrupt him.
No worries. Go ahead, Kreese.
Anyways, so Freya, she is working kind of in the Dragoon role, but she's trying to take some of her unique characteristics from Final Fantasy IX into her kit. Her 2 abilities are Rhesus Wind and Dragon Breath. Rhesus Wind is basically a party battery that provides her with a unique buff called Rhesus Wind. While it is active, she gets a huge max Brave boost and party HP regen party aura. She also, as I said, provides party Brave and then deals an HP attack to a single target. While the buff Rhesus Wind is active, she gains access to a Brave Plus attack called Jump, which will raise her own Brave based on her attack before performing a 2-hit ranged attack. Her second ability is Dragon Breath. Dragon Breath gives her a unique buff called Dragon's Crest, which has 5 levels to it. Based on the level, she gets an attack and speed boost for herself, which go up to 80% of attack and 20% of speed at max level and with her 35 CP weapon equipped. Dragon Breath, however, is also a 5-hit AoE ranged attack that deals a single target HP attack and also deals 50% splash damage to other targets. It has Brave Overflow, so she can take advantage of those AoE hits to raise her Brave before dealing the HP attack pretty large. And while Dragon's Crest is active, she gains access to High Jump, HP plus ability that deals some damage as a Brave attack before dealing the HP hit, and raises her allies Brave based on 20% of the HP damage dealt at the end of it. So it's kind of like Beatrix's HP plus plus in that regard. The other major characteristic for her kit is that she has some party auras. So one of her Crystal Strength Awakening passives raises party's max Brave and Speed while she is buffed. And her Crystal Strength 50 passive Burmese and Dragon Knight gives the party a max Brave and Attack aura, which can be boosted with artifact passives. So at max, with perfect artifact passives, so 3 Burmese and Dragon Knight 2-star boosts, she can provide a total of 25% attack, 65% max Brave, a small boost to speed, and 10% HP regen to the party, which makes her a solid mixed damage dealer plus party buffer, which kind of makes sense based on her origin. In FF9, she had some interesting utility abilities along with being the basic Dragoon that can jump and uses lances.
Right.
And thanks to her buffs having relatively long durations, she also can last a while. She does not have to rely heavily on her abilities to do something useful every turn. She has a Brave plus and an HP plus that are reasonably strong right now. But again, she has no EX ability, and probably she's going to be middling. I know that a lot of people from the JP community were saying that Freya is a very solid option. I'm not convinced of that yet. I'm still going to be weapon and tokening her, but we'll see once she's in play how she turns out. I'm not convinced yet.
Any thoughts on that, Quetz?
I'm a bit more optimistic regarding Freya than.
Okay, Quetz. Let me get to you last then, because I'm leaning towards the negative side, but you can uplift at the end. But I mean, mine's is brief. I already said my piece last. I know I upset a lot of people as well, but I said that I think the people are overemphasizing Freya's impact. A lot of content creators, once they started, like Josepher and Broadway, once they started dissecting the character, they said Lena does almost everything she does, but better. And I think a lot of people were overemphasizing Freya's importance as being a budget character. Yes, she's a budget character. Budget characters are never top tier. They're there to fill in for cheap if you don't have a better option. Mark himself would say, if he was here right now, he dug through a ton of Cosmos videos because the rumors were Freya's very Cosmos viable, and he said he found very few videos with Freya in them, and only like very niche picks within the first 3 or 4 Cosmos fights. So I think there's a lot of overhyping with Freya going on, because there are a lot of characters available who do her job even better. The only hype is that you can weapon token her full kit, and I think with a lot of characters like Lulu, and we're going to get Alphino and Afmao coming up, and that they're cheap options, but top tier options. But go ahead, Quetz. Please balance out our negative.
I'm not gonna balance as much as you probably think. I feel a bit more optimistic regarding her, but I agree with what you guys say when she's not gonna be like she's not gonna replace any of our top.
Yes.
I think that if you don't need as much healing as Lena does, and if you don't need her debuff, probably you might as well bring Freya instead of Lena, because Freya can deal more damage than Lena.
Yeah.
And on Cosmos, especially on, you might have some issues getting the score requirements for the mission.
Yeah. Good point.
And I think Freya might push that little bit but I agree with you guys when you say that she's not gonna be a top.
Aminosa in chat has a rebuttal. He says very few videos doesn't mean she wasn't used a lot. Remember, we only see videos from the same people who have similar taste. but yes, GL does exaggerate everything. I will say I'm personally not interested in Freya because the people I want to run, like if you want to run the top tiers like Renoa, for me a personal favorite like Jack, and then eventually characters like Warrior of Light and Zac who love that eye brave boost that Lena brings, is that Lena is all region. Like Freya has a battery, but it takes a turn. Lena is constantly recovering brave even when it's not their turn. They're recovering brave each turn. It's amazing, and you need that for turn efficiency, and like you just throw it on and you forget. It's a fire and the HP region as well. Freya has something similar, but Lena's is just so much bigger. Like it could mean the difference between life and death for a character like Renoa. With Lena's regens, Renault is healing back to full every time he uses her Angel Wing HP plus. With Freya, it's not going to be the same. So I'm saying for me personally, the characters I want to run, Lena's much better synergy. But
I will also mention that Freya is actually a very solid option if you missed out on some characters in the last couple months. For example, if you do not have Lena's kit, Freya will be a solid alternative because she can provide some of the benefits that Lena can. Maybe not quite as great, but she can do it. She provides some party aura, she provides the HP regen, and as you've seen with recent events, HP damage is almost unavoidable. So having a healer available is important, and we might not be getting another healer for another month or two. So Freya will help. Porum will be in September according to the time.
But she's a damn good healer. And then Aerith gets her rework a month or two after that. So it'll be a steady increase, but like Kree said, they're kind of far. Lastly is that what Kree said is if you don't have Lena, Freya's the next best option, which is, I agree. That's the definition of a budget character. Much cheaper than chasing after the one niche pick. Much better. Not saying Lena's a niche pick, but saying like if you wanted that one specific thing, you'd have to pull her X and invest heavily into that character. Moving on, we have 2 reworks and a new EX to talk about. Do you want to do Zidane first?
I'm going to do Zidane first because even though his rework is technically more intensive, his kit hasn't changed too much in practice. So let's do. Okay, so Zidane, his original awakening issue was that he had very piss poor turn efficiency. Stellar Circle 5 had a ton of ability uses, don't get me wrong. He had 18 total ability uses. He had an EX ability. He was fast, but he had to use Stellar Circle 5 to get his Brave, Max Brave up buff active, and it only lasted 3 or 4 turns, if I recall correctly. So he had to be constantly refreshing it, but Stellar Circle 5 had no HP attack associated with it. Free Energy was just a Brave battery, and while it provided an attack buff, it also had a very short duration. So he had a lot of issues where he had to burn through his abilities relatively frequently. He was so fast that his slow recast time on his EX ability booster 8 was felt, not like a character like Sid who could actually pull it off relatively frequently. Zidane could burn through up to 4 or 5 ability uses between booster 8 activations. Again, turn efficiency was an issue. He provided some nice debuffs, and he provided himself with some nice buffs, but the buffs were contingent upon applying the debuffs, which was a big problem. And they fixed that in a couple ways. One, they baked in some of his buffs into a new buff that he gives himself called Thievery. Thievery is a framed buff that he gives himself that raises his attack and max brave, about the same that his old buffs used to do. So instead of having a generic attack up and a max brave up, he no longer has those in his base kit. His awakening passives have been adjusted, so instead of raising his speed while his brave's above 50% of his max brave, he now raises his attack and speed while buffed, which is a pretty big bonus. Stellar Circle 5 now has 5 brave hits and can trigger an HP attack if his brave is over 80% max brave. Along with that, while Thievery is active, Stellar Circle 5 and Free Energy both become plus versions, which guarantee the HP attacks. They deal a little bit more damage. They can Brave Overflow. and they're just generally better. Along with Zidane applying his speed down and defense down buffs with Stellar Circle 5 and free energy, respectively. He also applies a new unique debuff called Thief's Mark. Thief's Mark reduces the enemy's attack and max brave while it is active, and when Zidane is using his empowered abilities or his brave attack plus, he deals more damage to enemies that are inflicted with Thief's Mark. So basically, it ties into itself. He applies his own unique buff that gives him access to his empowered abilities. While his empowered abilities are active, he deals more damage to targets he's already attacked thanks to Thief's Mark. So he provides a pretty nice kit now. The other thing is that I haven't mentioned yet is that Booster 8 applies a Max Brave Up generic buff, which used to compete with his old generic buff from Stellar Circle 5. Stellar Circle 5 no longer provides a generic Max Brave Up buff, so these now stack. Zidane will be able to get his Max Brave pretty high thanks to that combination, especially compared to what he could do before. So keep that in mind. As a reminder, Booster 8 can also inflict knockback, i.e. launch, if you have it limit broken twice. So he has some utility with the debuffs in his kit and the ability to trigger chain attacks with his EX ability. In general, I think Zidane's Awakening fills a lot of the holes in his kit. He still has the issues where he can burn through abilities really fast. His speed is ridiculous. He has high turn rate on all his abilities. He provides some nice self buffs. He provides some nice debuffs to the enemy, but again, he can churn through abilities. He can be a turn thief very easily, so you got to be careful of those issues. I think he's going to be solid for a little while if people are willing to experiment with him, though.
Any thoughts to add to that, Quetz?
Not really. I know that gets reasonably stronger, but I don't have his kits. I don't intend to have his kits. So I'm not really one of the best people to comment on.
Oh, Mark, are you?
Yeah, I am back. I heard
Hey, no.
I heard Vivi, if you get his EX plus, he combines it. He dies, and all his little Vivis combine to make a Mecha Vivi. It's really great. Yeah, so good times.
Did you have any thoughts about Zidane before his
Who?
rework? Zidane?
Zidane? He's a monkey, and he's got some debuff and some powers. He's not great, is he? I mean, he's not bad, but he's not great.
He's my ace in the sleeve in case I can't do this Cosmos with my intended team, Jekt and friend. But because I know he's very viable for this Cosmos. But so I had this talk with Erole, and Erole is out to prove me wrong because I asked her, I was like, "Do you have Zidane's? And if so, I want you to prove something to me because she's very determined when it comes off meta clears." And the JP players I associated with, the former Triple Break, they said Zidane is dead by Vayne EX, which
wow.
is they said by Vayne EX he cannot clear. I mean Vayne Cosmos. Sorry, they said by Vayne's event he's not Cosmos viable anymore. So it was a very short-lived run of less than 2 weeks. So I said that's what I got from the few JP players that I talked to that aren't, they're pretty good at the game. And Erole said I gave her the task of proving me wrong and using Zidane for Vayne EX and afterwards to see how far.
I think Vayne EX specifically is a tough one. It will be interesting to see afterwards, or any new kind of heretic Cosmos stuff that we get down the road here. But yeah, I think just looking at his rework, and before the shows, I mean, of course, Kreese does a wonderful evaluation of all the reworks, and we generally see those early. The Tomberry Troop and Inkwelder generally share what they're doing with their infographics. We try to share all that on Twitter as well. Josepher and 40 both do videos. So I try to keep up on all that and kind of come with it. And of course, I've looked at Rem's database several times over the weeks and months and years. And I feel like several of these characters were getting reworks now, kind of pre-Cosmos, now Cosmos era. yeah, they're workable, but they're not great.
Right.
Tidus,
And
Pain,
go
they're
ahead.
usable. I mean, but I wouldn't go out of my way to pull for them. If I already had them, might use them.
Yeah. Strafe in chat is saying, I have Zidane full MLB and I've been messing with his rework right now, and his damage is not as impressive as, say, Sephiroth's for sure. Like, not even close. No HP plus either. So they can already see the cracks in the armor.
But he's not. Zidane is not pure DPS like Sephiroth is pure DPS. Zidane has debuffs and self buffs and some different abilities, but
to be fair, Sephiroth has the almighty invisible Sloga.
Sephiroth's still really good, and I would encourage you to use him over Zidane currently, yes.
No
and
question.
I'll be using mine because I have Sephiroth.
So. All right, Kreese, can you take us through Vivi now?
Sure. So Vivi got, as we discussed earlier, special artifact passes, which I'm not going to touch on again. We can discuss them later if you want to. But he also got an Awakening rework along with that. And what that did was, first, he got a change to his Crystal Strength 58 passive so that he gets more max Brave while buffed rather than what he got before. And that's the major passive changes. If you want any other improvements, you're going to have to farm some Idoja artifact passives for him. His fire extension passive was changed so that he gets an additional use of fire, and now finally fire will always trigger an HP attack when used, which honestly was so sad that he didn't have this with his original Awakening. The fact that his original fire was a 2-hit Brave attack, and in order to even get a Brave hit HP hit conditional, you had to use focus and get fire plus, and then you had to hit 80% of his max Brave. That's all gone, thank God. So fire now always performs an HP attack. Thank you. It's still a 2-hit fire attack, and in the fire plus form, which still triggers under the same conditions, you have to use focus. It becomes a 3-hit fire magic attack that can Brave, overflow, and trigger an HP attack. Focus has changed a little bit in that, along with providing him with massive generic buffs to attack and max Brave, Vivi now gets a unique buff called Black Mage's Torch, which slightly improves his attack and max Brave while it is active. However, while Black Mage's Torch is active, Vivi has access to a Brave Attack Plus, which is a 2-hit magic fire attack, and an HP Attack Plus, which is a weak 1-hit magic fire attack that deals an HP attack. The big change for Vivi is his EX weapon. His EX weapon is on a slow minus recast speed, so this is Renoa recast speeds as a more recent example of this recast.
Oh, but don't forget that Renoa relies on HP pluses, so that charge is even slower, whereas Vivi will probably be using abilities than Renoa, so it might charge
Yeah, but
faster.
slow minus is a pretty infrequent recast speed. Slow is the most frequent, and this is going to be slower than most characters. So, for example, Vivi charges slower than Zidane.
Yeah.
Anyways, Meteor is a 3-hit AoE magic attack that deals an AoE HP attack. It'll deal more damage when hitting a single target. It can Brave Overflow. The big thing it does is it gives Vivi a unique buff called Double Black Magic for 4 turns. While Double Black Magic is active, he gains Brave regen equal to 100% of his max Brave, and it gives him access to a unique HP plus ability called Double Fire. Double Fire is a combined total 8-hit magic fire attack that deals 2 HP attacks in the middle, along with raising his Brave based on his attack in the middle. It can Brave Overflow. It does HP splash damage to other targets. However, it consumes Double Black Magic when used. So you can only use it once per EX ability cast, basically. So what his Awakening does is it doesn't really change his core kit. It's still basic. You focus and then you spam fire until the EX's ability is active, and then you spam Meteor, Double Fire, and go back to spamming fire. Refresh focus when necessary for his buffs and for his HP plus. It fixes his issues where he was a joke because he had conditionals to do any damage at all. And now he has his special artifact passives, where if you really want him to be good, you have to farm his artifact passive that raises his attack and speed by a percentage, along with combining it with an attack 108 passive. So have fun with that if you're a big Vivi fan and want to make him really useful. He's okay. He's not amazing. even with his artifact passives fully stacked, he's okay.
Would you say, Dreamy's bringing up in chat, would you say he's great for fire weak enemies, like specific events coming along, maybe heretics we're going to get? And how would you rate him paired with Lulu as well, who does the...
He will do great when there's fire weak enemies. For example, this current Cosmos fight will have fire weak enemies. Vivi will do great damage. I think he was actually one of the most common friend units for it in Japan. Lulu will help. It will boost his fire damage even more. It'll make enemies weak to fire for him, so we can exploit that even further. But again, Vivi's a one-trick pony. He does fire damage, and he has to still waste turns refreshing focus. He doesn't have to do it as frequently as he used to. His buff durations are now 6 turns. Fire Plus is active for 6 turns rather than the 4 turns his original Awakening gave him. And as I said, his EX ability is on a slow recast. So again, he'll do great damage for a couple of turns, and then he goes back to just hitting Zidane levels of damage, in my opinion, is what we'll see.
Makes sense. Quetz, do you have any thoughts on...
I like his kit. I think that basically what Chris, when the conditions are great for him, he's a very good character, especially when paired with Lulu, like. But I don't really see him being used past a couple of events, mainly because the elemental resistances of Cosmos. That's gonna be an issue for him, because unlike Lann and Reynn, he's only fire. He's 100% fire.
Yeah.
If the enemy resists fire, he's dead, but basically.
So again, for viewers, Quetz plays JP version, so he's confirming that in Cosmos, and even worse in Chaos, is these elemental resistances become more and more common, for sure. Any Cosmos that high resist fire or worse just cannot bring any fire. It just... these Cosmos and Chaos fights just start shutting out parts of your roster, where you have to bring... like, literally the resistance is just saying, you can't bring this character to this fight. So he's bringing up a great point and a good reminder we need to know going into these Cosmos is don't fall for the synergy bias. There's going to be a lot of fire immune or absorbing bosses in the next few months. So Vivi is not a great all-around character. No character that relies heavily on elements, period, like the twins. Like, any elements is going to be a great all-around investment.
This is also going to be the reason Golbez will fall off. As more enemies become elemental resistant more regularly, Golbez has more problems. See the Ironworms in the most recent Beach Bash as an example of what gives him.
Yeah, and for me, Vivi's one of the Curse 6, so immediate pass for me. Mark, any final thoughts?
Did you guys mention that Shara had shared that Joshua from Square Enix was in main cord of the official Reddit Discord server?
Oh no, we did not. What did he say?
So I'd have to scroll up to see it in chat, but basically Joshua shared the information about these idojas. There was immediate, weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's the biblical language.
Tell me about. Oh, just to interrupt, Shara. For those who are going to be listening to the podcast, Shara's been in our stream chat calling for pitchforks about this Adoja description. He says he's been hitting up content creators and members and filing records, like he's compiling a list of complaints about this. He's so outraged by this. To quote Shara right now, and for those who don't know, Shara is the head honcho for Global's DFFOO subreddit and Discord. And to quote Shara right now, he said, "Welp, I'm done with DFFOO for now. I'm gonna run my 5 bells and not touch this game for tonight. I cannot put into words how upset I am at this decision by the GL devs. and I'm just glad that Pokemon Masters is coming out in a few days, so I can ignore this game. So, share. So mad. Oh, right. He's talking right now. He says Pitchforks is a bit far. Head Honcho is a bit far, but the rest sounds like me. Is what Cher wanted to correct about statement right now. But go ahead, Mark.
Joshua did say that please send all of your feedback to us, and hopefully he will relay that to the devs, who will maybe think about what they've done.
Think about
I
what
will
they've done.
say that as a little upside, we do get very cute Vivi stickers with
Yes!
tonight's event. So if you have some Spirit Decidia points like most of
Yes!
us do, go ahead and get those Vivi stickers and spam them in the co-ops.
Yes, thank you, Tomahawk Joe, for that reminder. We missed the most important part of the update, which is Vivi.
I got 1,700 Decidia points in my bank and 1,600 more in random shops, so that have been unclaimed. So I'm getting all 4 of these immediately. Thank goodness for something to spend points on.
Moving on, I think that's most of what we need to cover. We'll go more into detail about the chapters and the Cosmos, the long-awaited Cosmos fight next week.
Yes.
Along with the stream information. Next week is going to be a packed episode for sure. But as we're entering the final leg of this episode,
unlike this very short episode.
Yeah. This very short episode. While we wrap up this final leg, let us shift the focus to our guest here, Quetz, and I cannot stress enough what an amazing tool MateriaBot is for the community. It's only available on Discord, so I know many listeners probably only check the subreddit or not even that, but in almost every significant DFFOO Discord server, MateriaBot is this amazing tool that people can type in commands and get any information at will. So instead of, say, looking up like Crease's evaluation subreddit or Safina's potencies or Rem's DB for information and rummaging through all the pages, you can just type in a simple command such as I'm gonna look this up. Don't know how to use MateriaBot.
Yeah, MateriaBot would be great
like
if
$sign,
if Mino and I knew how to use it correctly.
Yeah. Character artifacts, Yuna, or something. It should list all her artifacts or something. Just pull them all out. List potency, list weapon descriptions. Go ahead.
$CHAR artifact Yuna space Yuna.
I think there's more to that. Okay, let's just stop trying, Mark. We're gonna get it wrong.
That's it, right? I'm pretty sure I'm right.
You missed the artifact part.
No, care artifact space Yuna will give all of her artifact passives.
Right. So pulling
$sign help. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, $sign. So pulling that information is one function of the bot. It also he just updated it with summon board information. There's also you can simulate pulls, which a lot of people love doing to scratch their pull itch, and among many other things I'm probably forgetting. Oh, right. He has instant links to Macnul's call to arms threads, Crease's evaluations, I think, Dreamy's utility. Like it's an amazing fucking tool. So that's the introduction to it. But Quetz, why don't you start us off? What inspired you to create this tool and become this mini celebrity?
When I first started making the Discord bots 3 years ago, I think, back still during Brave Exvius. Initially, I made it only for my server, where the first feature I did, and it's actually the most used on MateriaBot as well, which is the friend command, the friend code. Basically, you can associate your ID with your Discord user, and you can easily share what's your ID, what's the unit you are sharing, and anyone can search for specific friends. For example, if you want a Lulu friend, you can you can
Sorry.
easily search. You can easily do a command $friend code search Lulu, and it will show every single Lulu that's registered on the bot.
Oh, let me jump in really quick, Quetz. That's one of the few features I know how to use, and I forgot to mention, is that exactly what he said. You can register your friend code and look up other people's friend codes who are users on Discord and registered it, and that's one of the things that I use it the most for. It's such an easy way to exchange friend codes, and if you're looking for specific support units. But continue, Quetz.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest features that most people use. There's also pool simulators like Mino said. There's all the info regarding summons, summon boards, recommended passives. Basically, I didn't made most of this information. Basically, what I do is I scavenge every single other content creator, and I basically aggregate every single information on a somewhat easily accessible place.
Yep, perfect. And then you've been okay. So, well, actually, in your opinion, actually, no. Let me go to the host and then you. But Mark, what is your favorite feature of the MateriaBot?
My favorite feature of the MateriaBot, the one that I try to use probably the most, is the abilities. So to try to figure out, okay, what's this character's ability to do? What's the EX do? All of that's in there. So, what's Zidane ability 1? What's Zidane ability 2? What's Zidane EX? And then, of course, passives and artifact passives. We've been doing a lot of artifact passives recently, but I think I probably use the abilities just to get a sense of, hey, what's this character do? What's that character do?
And Kreese, what do you use MateriaBot for?
Mostly for ability information pulling, because what happens is that in a discussion on Discord, people will ask, wait, what does this ability do again? And if I do not know off the top of my head, then I can quickly snap the skill up, get the ability for the character in mind, and show them, here's what the ability does. Here's what it does fully awakened. Here's what it does in its base form. It's amazingly useful as a quick grab instead of having to search Safina or my own analysis archive to try to find the information for someone. It's very useful in that regard. I also like having that for having an easy way to share my friend code. I can just snap it up and say, here's my friend code, here's the friend I currently have active. Have at it.
I mean, I don't use Materia. I guess the friend code thing, like Kreese said, but as Marcus said, we're too old to figure out how technology works. I'm so bad. I try once or twice every time for a command, and then just give up in frustration when it doesn't work. I hate MateriaBot, to be honest, but I acknowledge that that's user error. And you could just use the help function and find out everything, but I'm terrible at it. I'm gonna be honest. Oh, go ahead, Quetz. I was gonna segue that Quetz has been talking about, because of my ignorance and partially Mark's, that he's working on ways to make the commands more user friendly. And I'm gonna throw Erole under the bus too, because she's admitted as being just as clueless when it comes to using.
You can come onto our Discord and see me try to use the MateriaBot 4 or 5 times in a row until I finally get it right or remember how I'm supposed to do it. It's not that complicated. It's actually fairly simple, but we tend to make things harder than they really are.
Yes, but Quetz, sorry, what were you trying to say?
I was gonna say something regarding what you were commenting. I already have an idea on how to make it easier for you older people to use the bots. I'm not gonna say exactly what yet.
Oh, you won't? Okay, I wanted to comment on it because I thought it was a brilliant idea, but I will leave the reveal to you, of course, when the time.
I can talk about it. I just wasn't absolutely sure to talk about it because I didn't make it yet. I still have to make it, and I didn't want to talk about it first without making sure that it was gonna work.
Completely understandable. So it's up to you.
But-
You're right. You don't want to talk about features that aren't.
Yeah, but my idea basically is that instead of having multiple comments for every single separate function, one command for skills, one command for passives, one command for artifacts. Instead, I'm gonna have a single command, $unit, and you write a unit name, and then I'll use the reactions that Discord automatically has, and when you click those reactions, the bot will automatically update the info it shows based on the reaction you clicked. It sounds a little bit technical, but it's not. It's basically as simple as clicking a button.
I understood it, so it can't be that complicated.
Right, yeah, click a button. That's
Buttons.
how
I
Windows
like
got big,
buttons.
right? Like instead of typing in commands, you just click buttons.
Are the buttons shiny? How will I know how to press them?
And it's a single click too, because you know me growing up and watching these boomers try to work like when they try to click an icon, they'll click it like 50 times. Like I don't think they understand the concept of double click. So a single click is even better. Thank you, Quetz. Honestly, for making our lives easier. but I mean, no, but you're amazing. I mean, MateriaBot alone is an amazing contribution, but you're also one of the more active mods on the subreddit as well. I think anyone who's active in our community knows you. And to top it all off, other than the whole user-friendly interaction, do you have any future plans for MateriaBot as time goes on?
Right now, most of the information that MateriaBot shows comes from Safina's spreadsheets. They are very good. They have a lot of information. But in the next few days/weeks, I'm working with Reynn regarding making some sort of connection and having MateriaBot simply show the information on DCDB with extra potencies, which DCDB doesn't have.
Right. I wasn't sure if it was safe to mention, but basically Quetz also works closely with Rem, and so for the long timers, Safina has been our go-to resource for attack potencies because the game refuses to reveal them to us, and Safina's all tested. And so there's human error here and there, and also sometimes she doesn't update fast. There's a lot of factors to it, but I think Quetz has been working with Rem to directly data mine all potencies so that we get super accurate results super fast as they come out, which is going to be very exciting as well.
It's gonna take a little bit of time to iron out all the kinks to basically rewrite how I visually show the information, because let's face it, on some units there's just so much information that when you ask something on the bot, it'll just put a wall of text in your face, and you can't easily read what it's supposed to, what the skills actually does.
And I think you told me another thing that you wanted to work on was there's many attacks in FFOO that will like debuff or buff during the attack, but they all do it in different orders. For example, some will apply the buff before the attack, changing the potency, and others will attack and then buff, changing the potency. And I believe Quetz said he had a mission to clarify all of that long run.
Yeah.
So that would be super useful for theory crafting.
That's something that Chris tested a few weeks ago, I think. Skills that give you, for example, a max bravery buff.
Yeah.
Almost usually give that buff before the attack.
Yes.
Meanwhile, if the skill does an attack buff, gives you an attack buff, it usually gives you after the attack goes off.
Yeah.
So you choosing which one ability you use first to get the correct buff in the order you want, it's actually something that it's not very apparent, not even in Safina or in the CDDB.
Yeah.
Because it's just a finer detail that it's not easily communicable.
Okay. And then to catch up on chat really quick, by the way, first of all, there's universal praise about the button plan. It looks like Mark and I are not the only technology challenge
No.
here. A lot of people are very happy saying we can just click a button and it'll display the correct information. It looks like they're very happy about that. And Sherry wanted to say that you are a godsend to the subreddit, because ever since you showed up, he's had to do significantly less work because you've got everything under control. So, we cannot express our gratitude to you for your contribution to the community. Any last things you want to say about your future projects or MateriaBot before we close this out?
Not really. There's gonna come a point where I simply don't have more things to add. And
okay. You seem to always be coming up with new things, honestly.
I mean, yeah, but after I do everything, what do I have left to do?
All right, Mark, Kreese, you guys have any last comments for Quetz here?
Nope.
I want to know how your pulling has been going. I haven't seen recently where you are in current character events and.
Quetz, tell us about that.
You do actually.
I think my impression of you.
You
said
do
that
actually play this game. I believe
you're a meta puller, right?
Usually, I pull for both favorite and meta. But lately, I've started to hate myself because of my luck.
Okay.
In the positive, basically, I'm probably gonna get some hate, but I got.
I'm not happy anymore.
I got Reynn full kit in 42 tickets. I got Lann full kit in 90 kits.
Oh my god!
I got Sephiroth
9 tickets.
90.
Oh, okay, 90. Ooh.
I got Sephiroth EX in 5k. I got Lann and Reynn EX in 7 tickets and 35 20 tickets later. I got Golbez in 50k.
What the?
15k.
Uh-huh.
It was nice having you on the show, Quetz.
Hey, there's gonna be a follow-up section next week. All right, if you're struggling with Cosmos, we're gonna judge you very harshly because you've got every good character that's come out in the last 3 months.
Basically, yeah.
You son of a bitch. But thank you for your time, Quetz, and I'm sure we'll have you on. And again, everyone in our Discord, Quetz is no stranger. He's even a mod in our Discord server. He's always there chatting, so it's not like he's a hard person to get a hold of. Just come to our Discord that we always try to plug, that I've always just forgotten to give the link to. But all the content creators are there. Quetz is very active. Priest, Mark, anything we need to touch on? I guess coming events.
Yeah, let's talk about what's coming up. We don't really know. Besides, Shiva Summon Board hits on the 1st. Likely we'll have a mobile stream on Monday, which means between now and next week, we're probably not looking at a lot of other content. So you'll have a whole week to do co-ops. There's lots of stuff in this new co-op shop. The entire very, very large Act 2, Chapter 3. Cosmos fights in the event itself, and of course some new characters to level new character to get summoning boards for, etc. So, yeah, until then, we don't really know what's going to be going on. So if that's it, I think for us, unless anybody else has anything.
I'm good. I'm sure we'll have a packed episode next week. Priest, any last thoughts?
No, just look forward to my analysis on the Awakening reworks, which I will be posting shortly after this podcast ends.
Very,
All
very
right.
good. Well, thank you all for... Oh, go ahead, Mino.
Oh, sorry. This is a one-off comment. I was just gonna ask Priest if he's editing his eval for the new information we got.
Yes, I now have a new section titled A Personal Aside. Skip this.
Quetz, any parting message?
Oh, goodness gracious.
No, nothing really.
All right.
right.
We love having you around, Quetz. You're always around on the Discord server. Just wanted to voice how much we appreciate you. Back to you, Mark.
We do appreciate Quetz and all of those co-collaborators that make this podcast happen. And so we've had many of them, and we're going to have probably a couple more on in the coming weeks and months so that you can meet everybody who we hang out with and see how they contribute to our community. So for myself and everybody else, let me get to that in a second. Make sure if you are just joining us here on Twitch, thank you very much, and you've missed some of the show, make sure you download, catch us later on YouTube or on Twitch. You can find all of our links to Twitter, Facebook, social media, YouTube, our Discord server. We have our own Discord server. It's a great community. All these folks like Quetz are in there. Of course, Quetz is everywhere. But you can go to our website, www.tccpodcast.com. That is www.thecrystalchronicles.tccpodcast.com. tccpodcast.com. Find everything you want to know and how to get a hold of us. Remember, this is a podcast, so come and listen to us on your favorite podcast apps or check us out on YouTube or for a couple days on Twitch after we air. We try to do this every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. That would be Friday morning at 1 p.m. UTC or 1 a.m. UTC. So, Quetz, if we want to get a hold of you, what would be the best way to do so?
You can easily find me in pretty much any Discord on the regarding DFFOO. Feel free to ping me, to DM me, whatever. You can also find me on the Reddit, Quetzalma as well. I also have a MateriaBot server for for questions, for suggestions, and where I usually post all the updates I do.
All right. Well, for myself, Mino Spellgood, Kreese, a.k.a. Zarink, and Quetzalma, this has been episode 62 of the Crystal Chronicles. We are wishing you all good luck as Cosmos has begun. Until next week, good pulling and goodbye.